Oh man, I think I went the wrong way. Gotta make a U-turn. What's going on, everybody? I am super excited to be back on another podcast episode with you guys. I hope you have been tuning in to season three, which we are titling Rerouting. We are in a rerouting season right now. And if you're not there, keep living. You'll get there. First of all, I just want to say that I am super doped about this episode. Reason being is because, for one, it took me forever in a day to figure out what I was going to call this episode. I thought about a million and one titles, a million and one things that I wanted to say, and I finally narrowed it down. So, today we are talking about making decisions. Make up your mind. I started to title this The Knock and the Waiting. I started to title this What Do You Want? And then it hit me. Make up your mind. So I'm super excited to get into this because not only is it going to be for you, but it is definitely 100% for me. So backstory, you guys. A couple of weeks ago, I had a dream. I had a dream, and this is my second time having this dream. I had a dream that my car, I was tired of it. And I said, you know what? I love my car, but I'm ready for something new. So I went to the dealership. I traded in my car, got a new car, drove it for a day or a few hours, and within a couple of hours on that next day, don't quote me, I can't 100% remember. It was just a dream. But I ended up taking the car back to the dealership. And I spoke to the person who was my salesperson, and I asked them, hey, I really like this car, but I really love my old car. So is there any way that I can get out of this loan and get back into the loan of my other car at the same price that I returned it at? And so, even though it was a stretch, I was able, by the end of the dream, I was able to get my car back. And each time I had this dream, the ending was the same. I ended up returning, getting a new car and returning it. But when I went back to get my car, I had to clean out of my car. Like, there were things in my car from like other cars that they had sold and just stored up in my car to clean out another car. So when I got my car back, my steering wheel like thing was missing. The cover that I had on there was missing. There were like a few things thrown in the back of my car, so I had to clean it out before I got it back. And then I ended up, telling them like, oh, um dang, I just traded this car in. Can you guys, clean it up? So they ended up cleaning it up for me. And I woke up and I said, you know what? This is the second time I've had this dream. Like, what is my dream? What is this trying to tell me? And I sat down, I started praying, I started talking to God, and God immediately revealed to me that I need to make up my mind. I needed to make a decision on what it is that I wanted and stick to that. Because I had realized that I'm in a season, not was in because I'm currently there, but I am in a season where I don't know what I want 100%. And I think I do know what I want, but I think what I want scares me because I don't know if what I want comes the way that I want it, if that makes sense. So hopefully I am not the only one who's struggling in this area with decisions and being indecisive and making up their mind. Hopefully I can encourage you guys and encourage myself as well to learn to make decisions, to weigh your options, make it plain, because how can God give us what it is that we want and the desires of our heart if we don't know what we want? How can God send us? And I was listening to a message earlier, and of course, you guys know I'm going to link it down in the episode notes. But I was listening to Bianca Olthoff, and she had it was a third three parts, I think. It might be more than those, but I only seen three. So the first part was knock keep knocking was the second part, and then the first part was what was the first part? Let me actually go back and see. Okay, so the second part was keep knocking, and then the first one was literally what do you want? And when I heard that what do you want sermon, I was on the floor. I was floored. And she said something in her sermon where she said, how can God give us what we want if we don't know what we want? And I immediately started thinking about my dream because I thought about, dang, and I knew that this was specifically for me because when it comes to relationships in general, I have been praying for better relationships. I have been praying, God, where's my husband at? Bless me with this man. Like, I know he out there on the horizons. Let him swim in to shore. Like, I have been intentionally praying and just asking God for something different. And so when I had that dream, and it was like, it was so easy to me because I heard God tell me to make up my mind, make a decision. Because even in the dream, I had something new, but I went back to get what I had left. I went back to what was familiar. I went back to what was old because I wasn't 100% sure that that's what I wanted. And so this resonated with me 100% because, especially in my relationship life, when it's particularly when it comes to love, like dating. I've been praying like God, please send me something different, something that's outside of what I normally choose. You can choose because your option is way better than my option. And so when I had that dream, I immediately knew what God was telling me. And I was just like, okay. And I realized, and I sat down and I said, well, I don't know what I want when it comes to relationships because it's like, on one hand, I want something different, but on another hand, I'm still holding on to the old, if that makes sense. And so God is literally telling me, make up your mind. Because you can't pray and say, "Oh God, I want something different," and then when I give you different, you're not going to be able to receive that different. You're not going to be able to get the blessing in the blessing that God is giving you because you're expecting the old to be the new blessing. And so I really resonated with that because I said, "Wow, I didn't realize that in all reality, I didn't know what I wanted. I thought I knew what I wanted, Have you ever been in a situation where you thought you knew what you wanted and then when you got it, you're like, nah, I ain't doing this. And it's so crazy because the other day I had a conversation with one of my best friends and we were talking about it and, I had told him this and he started resonating with me about it as well. And he was saying that, because I told him, I said, well, I don't feel like I have any options. And so he's like, what are you talking about? Like, you do have options. So we went down the list of options. And I was just like, yeah, but I feel like God could have gave me some better options. Like, and it's so crazy because it's like, in that moment, I'm like, girl, what the heck are you saying? Like, what do you mean? You literally just said you didn't have any options. Now we're going over the options and you're nitpicking. So it's just like, what do you want? And so it was even in that moment I had to realize that what do I want? And then we also talked about just being in a place where, okay, for instance, specifically with a new spouse. And he said, what I don't want to happen is God blesses you with a different man with somebody Thank you for listening. I hope you stay tuned for more episodes. Remember, being grateful makes you gorgeous.